Today I'm going to talk about Team Liquid at ESL New York. I feel like ESL New York is going to be a very good event for them in the sense that I think among all the remaining international events for this year, this is Liquid's best chance to make a deep run. And what I mean by deep run, I mean like finals. Because if you think about it, the timing is perfect. We have the right time, the right people in the right place. And what I mean by that is we've just gotten off the off season, and a bunch of the better teams have fallen off because they're either in like the vacation mode or they haven't like peaked to their full form yet. So teams I'm thinking about are like Astralis and SK specifically. G2 is actually in perfect peak, but they're not here. North is on the rise, but they're not here. So like I said, the right people are in this tournament and this is the right time. And the reason I think this is the right place for Liquid is because among the roster shifts that Liquid has had, this has been the most stable so far. On top of that, they have every piece that they could possibly need, and ESG Tour Machinas had them show something that they hadn't shown previously. First, obviously, is that they could beat SK, and yeah, I agree with the analysts there, Lurpus and Thorn, that basically that's not the real SK. That's like weak SK. That's like SK on the vacation mode. But the critical thing is like SK might still be on the vacation mode. So like I said, this is arguably their best chance. If Liquid's ever gonna make a big run for the remaining year, I think this is the best chance they have. And that's part of it. The other reason is because if you're looking at Liquid's year throughout 2017 after Twist joined, I think there's actually pretty clear players that will have been like off form. Nitro, obviously, everybody talks about him. I actually think Stanislaw is the same. Now, I never actually blame Stanislaw for this because I feel like tactically, like he was doing some smart stuff. He was doing a bunch of diverse stuff, but I feel like he had never shown that form he had as a leader as when he had in Optic, and the shift from this from him being the leader to Nitro, or this like dual call form, I guess they're going for right now, has made it so that Nitro is still bad, but Stanislaw has like regained his form, and that's a great sign for Liquid because I feel like if you want to be a top level team, there cannot be a weak link relative to like the other areas. So I feel like Stanislaw was a weaker link prior to Machinas. And even though that was just one event, I feel like that might be repeatable for Stanislaw. The second thing we have to think about is the fact that Twist has gotten better and better over from event to event after joining this Liquid roster, and I feel like he's filled a role that Liquid has needed for a long period of time, which is like this defensive role player role, and he's still putting up like great numbers. He's still putting up like good impact. So that's a great thing for Liquid in general. Though I will say I wasn't that impressed with him at ESG Tours, but I feel like that's more of a one-off rather than the norm for him, which is kind of weird because I went the other way for Stanislaw, but I feel like there was like a change in Stanislaw, so I feel like that's justified. Elige is still good. I don't think he's like I think he's wavering right now between world beater and just a very good player, but I still think he's NA's best like player. NA's best player. I think the only other person you could like put up with next to him are like Stewie or Automatic Right, but they have their own problems right now so that they can't really fulfill those guys' potential. So I feel like Elige was already the best player, and then by even more so now that like Cloud9's in a bit of a disarray. And then the final piece in the puzzle will be JDM, and JDM is he was really bad at the beginning. I don't think this is a surprise to anybody if you consider the fact that Liquid as a team has like basically killed almost every opper except Simple that went into the team. So they killed Adren, they killed Kusta, and then it looked like they were about to kill JDM. But the critical turnaround for JDM was when Stanislaw and Zeus came into the team. Because when they came into the team, like Stanislaw himself isn't actually that great of a leader when it comes to setting up JDM, because the only other opera he ever like helped set up was like Mixwell, who was a very different type of opera from JDM. But like there were some things he could put in, and then Zeus, who obviously played with, not played, but like was the coach of like SK, and then the coach of Immortals, like with all these great operas, he knows exactly how to like set up these opera types. So I feel like the inclusion of these two people have like slowly built JDM's like confidence and skill, and synergy with the team to a much higher point, to the point that ESG Tours, I'd say he was like the second star of the team after Leash. And if you look at the team holistically, then at ESG Tours, Leash was great, JDM was great. Stanislav was like, you can even argue like Stanislav might have been Liquid's best player, discounting the SK series, because I feel like that's the most important series, and that's the one where Leash was the best in. But if you discount that series, in the rest of the games, overall, on average, I feel like Stanislav might have been their best player. And like Twist had an off event, and so you go into ESL New York, I don't think Twist is going to have another off event like that. I feel like he's been a bit too consistent for that. So 4 of your 5 players are showing up, and I think that's enough, especially since Nitro's taking on the burden of in-game leaders. So relative to the other teams, like that's fine. I feel like that's fine for now. Like I personally don't think Nitro was ever that great of a player during this like run, during this current run of Team Liquid. Not since before the Simple days. So you go through all of that, and so Liquid is on the rise, and everybody else is on the fall. So Astralis, they lost to Gambit at, what was it? Malmo, right? They lost Gambit at Malmo after the break, and I think Astralis should still beat Liquid anyway. The reason being that Astralis' structure is just a bit too good, a bit too consistent. But I will say that this is the most likely chance for Liquid to upset Astralis, because I feel like Device is no longer a superstar player. He's just a star player. He's still very good. Still in my point of view, the second best op in the world after Kenny S, or I guess third at least if you want to put Oscar above him. Beyond that, like Kirby's been falling off. It feels like he's had a hard time with something. I'm not sure what, but his form has fallen off, and they're not sure what to do with that. Glaive's form has fallen off since when he was like a really good like skilled in-game leader during like the E-League Major. Dupree's actually gone up. I feel like he's the second best player on the team right now, and he's a danger. I feel like Zipnix is he still does his role, but like the thing about Zipnix's role is like he won't have that crazy impact all the time. Like I don't even think it's possible to have that kind of impact he did at like IEM Cattle Wise, where he was winning every fucking clutch. Like that's just not repeatable. Like I know Zipnix is a god at like clutching, but that's not something you should always win anyway. So that's not something like anybody can predict. So Zipnix is good, but he's not going to be the guy who can literally win every clutch. Not like Colt's era, I guess. Right. So Astralis is now beatable for them. FaZe is like because they shifted 2 players from Alu and Kiyoshima to Olaf and Guardian, and I feel like among all the like variations they could have run. So for instance, they could have run like Guardian Kiyoshima, or they could have run Olaf Alu, or they could have run they could have just got the same 5, or they could have, or this current 5, right? Those are like the 4 variations. Among all the 4 variations, this arguably has the highest potential, but it also has the highest gamble rate, because what's gonna happen is Kerrigan has to figure out like a new identity, and he has to get everybody on board, and it has to like have synergy, and it has that experience. And I feel like it's still too early for FaZe to really show whatever it is they think it's gonna happen. I feel like the tournament after this, which is like a month from now, or maybe E-League, because that's like a longer running tournament, either of those is when we'll see what exactly FaZe is made of. But I think ESL New York is a bit too early in the timeline to expect that crazy shit from them. So when FaZe do play Liquid, I feel like the primary way they could win, will win, or could win, is skill. But I think like Liquid as a package has the highest potential chance here. And then you go to Virtus Pro, and yeah, Virtus Pro did beat Liquid at ESG Tours, but I feel like Virtus Pro is actually still on the decline. Um, like, I will say this for Virtus Pro. Snacks is no longer in-game leading, so that's actually great for Virtus Pro. So, but I'm not sure if that's like enough because it's just been a week. But you know, it's Virtus Pro. You never fucking know with Virtus Pro, kind of. Like I feel like it's much more likely that Virtus Pro fail than they succeed. And yeah, the Virtus Pro always have that weird effect versus NA teams where like they always beat them no matter what their form is. But I feel like if Liquid want to prove they can, if Liquid want to prove they can be like international contenders, this is a group they have to get out of in first or second. Because I feel like it's not gonna get any easier from this point onward. Like you're not gonna get easy groups. You're not gonna get easy draws, except for at the major, I guess, if you get super lucky with the Swiss system. But beyond that, you're not gonna get these easy draws. So yeah, this might be a harder group overall. I think it's harder than Group A for this tournament. But if Liquid really want to prove that they are potentially world international competitors, and we want to be that by that is like you're getting to the semifinals or you're getting to the finals of like international tournaments with a bunch of the best teams, then I think this is Liquid's best chance among all of the chances they're likely to get this year. So there you go.